How about this way? I love that you get cold when it's 71 degrees out. I love that it takes you an hour and a half to order a sandwich. I love that you get a little crinkle above your nose when you're looking at me like I'm nuts. I love that after I spend the day with you, I can still smell your perfume on my clothes. And I love that you are the last person I want to talk to before I go to sleep at night. And it's not because I'm lonely. And it's not because it's New Year's Eve. I came here tonight because when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with cheat codes, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible.
That's fucking adorable.
It is adorable. It's December 30th, 2015. Welcome to episode 78 of the Cheat Codes Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We're glad you're hanging out. The next hour is us drinking a few beers and going over our favorite bits from the past week in video game, tech, and pop culture news. My name is Joe Erskine. I am your host, and we're coming to you from a rom-com set in the early to late 80s. 89, I think it was, actually. Harry and Sally are figuring out their shit, and the witty banter is thick enough to choke a horse. Today, I'm here with Cheat Codes producer and editor, Mr. Joe Billy Crystal Arroyo.
Hi, I don't have a good one. Hello.
Cheat Codes community manager and Boss Key game designer, Mr. Chris Meg Ryan Morris.
She was really hot back in her day, dude.
Cheat Codes art ninja and media assassin, Mr. Bernard Carrie Fisher Hwang.
Hi.
Yeah.
Sounds gonna be. I don't know what references you're making.
You could have done a Star Wars.
Well, Carrie Fisher was in When Harry Met Sally. But anyway. Today on the show, we're going to fake some orgasms in public while discussing the following main topics. We're just going to call it out. We each have a favorite game for the year. Not necessarily best game, not necessarily whatever, but it's our favorite. We're going to mention one each, hash it out a bit, and move on. It's the end of the year after all, so it's the best way to cap it all off. The stuff we had the most fun with. Auld Lang video games, guys. Oh, you love it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. We're also going to talk about the DDoS attack on Valve over Christmas break, their transparency or lack thereof, and in hopes that we can maybe wipe some of the steam from our windows. Baby, it's cold outside. And lastly, we're going to talk about Project Tango, Google's new initiative. They announced it last year, and all the fun that's going to come with that. How the implications for not just technology in general, but gaming specifically, and all the fun that can be had. There's going to be lots of fun to talk about on our end of the year podcast. It's the last one for the year, you guys. Well, I mean, obviously we'll be back next week, so it's not really that much of a wait.
I can't believe we made it a whole another year.
I know.
It's crazy.
Like in life? Like you're glad that you've survived?
Well, just in all things.
Oh.
But in the podcast specifically.
For today's lightning round, we're going to lament the cold Mexican tile of our kitchen floors about the following bits. I think we're going to start it off with a very simple thing. There is a CBS and Paramount are going to be suing a production company and a director for making a $1 million crowd-funded Star Trek video, effectively.
Like a fan
film.
Yeah.
And this is not the first time we've seen something like this, but I'm interested to talk about it because I think it's going to be interesting. Like, when does a cult following become more powerful than the law, effectively?
Serve me up, Scotty.
Yeah. It was good. Thanks, buddy. And lastly, we're going to round it up. We're going to finish our last lightning round for the year with a look back on our favorite bits. We're all going to chime in for a minute on the stories that we thought were the most poignant, sad, hilarious, meaningful, funny, whatever.
Yeah,
it's all fine. Yeah, lovable. Just important in general for the year, and that's how we'll round it all out. For beer today, in honor of the new year, we are for once not featuring a beer. We are taking the Christopher Walken route when we say, "Come in and have some Shampanya."
Clink.
You're a skittish minx. It's gonna be good. So yeah, I'm not even gonna tell you what kind we got because it's so cheap.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's not good at all.
Yeah,
it's so bad.
We're a bunch of classy ladies over here. Okay,
because it's the end of the month, that means it's a core panel episode, which in turn means it's time to revisit the.
Is this how I Twitter? Did I twit?
Segment. We're going to highlight a relevant holiday-related trending topic from Twitter and share a few of our favorite tweets. So, it's almost New Year's Eve, and that means resolutions. So currently trending on Twitter is the hashtag New Year's resolution in 5 words. Here are our favorite tweets from that. At Daily Dot, which is...
The Daily Dot.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's like a BuzzFeed type news service.
Exactly. Yeah. Their 5 words is no more Netflix and chill.
I agree.
At at Johnny McNarwhal. Great fucking name.
That's
by the
pretty
way.
fantastic. Yeah.
His 5 words were offend more people than 2015.
2015 counts as a word.
An
That's-
admirable goal.
That's a tough one because you could say 2015. That adds 3 words.
Sure.
2015. That's 2 words. But he used the number 2015, so we're going to give that counts as a word.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So way to cheat there, Johnny McNarwhal. At Lorraine Sink.
Yes.
Sounds good to me. Her 5 words are cleanse my enemies with fire. I'm glad I don't know.
If I
her.
haven't liked and retweeted that already, then I should.
Yeah. And then finally, at Jen Ashley Wright tweeted, stop reading the comments section. And god damn it if that's not probably the most, appropriate.
It's just good. It's a good rule for life.
I would agree. That's a
Yeah.
good resolution
Yeah.
for the remainder of your life.
So I think that was
Oh, on that note, this show
Yeah.
is much like the comments section of
YouTube or I don't know.
It's not nearly as bad. Don't listen to them.
But we are going to make some comments here shortly. Before we get going, though, Bernard, welcome back to the show. I know it's been a while. You've been secretly working on all of our top secret plans for 2016, and we appreciate that very much. But it's good to have you back, buddy.
It's good to be back.
And Chris, as always, it's been a while since you've graced us with your presence, and I'm not sure I'm as glad to see you as I am Bernard, but it's nice. It's nice, I guess.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Well, happy holidays, you guys, and happy holidays to all you guys out there as well listening. I hope you guys are making it through until New Year's Eve. Maybe you're catching this. If you're listening to this on New Year's Eve, you're spending it the right way. That's all
Shame
I'm
on
gonna
you. Go outside and get drunk.
say. Well, you could get drunk
Go
with us.
outside and get drunk.
Right, specifically outside.
Usually it's that's followed by get fresh air, not
yeah, right. That's where I drink most of my beers, on my porch. You know what I mean? So,
you've been playing video games too long. Go outside and get drunk.
it's good. It's very good. All right. All right. It's the end of the year, and like every other gaming news
Thing.
topical, opinionated venue is
Bunch
going
of
to do.
assholes.
Yeah, we all, I should say, because we kind of like put ourselves amongst a very a dense group, but everybody's talking about best of the year, right? So we're going to try and do a little something different. Everybody's going to chime in, all 4 members of the panel, and talk about their favorite game. Not necessarily the best, or for technical or artistic or design reasons, but the one that they had the most fun playing this year. There was some overlap and there was some conjecture, so there's some things we're going to agree on, and we all tried to have a unique one. So even though we might agree that one game is better than another,
It's not what this is about.
not at all. I think we just wanted to highlight some of the, because there's 4 of us, there'll be 4 of our favorite games, and I guess we're all speaking on behalf of the Cheat Codes podcast. So, Bernard, I'd like you to kick it off and tell me all about your favorite game of 2015.
All right, I guess I'm going first. So as someone who's worked on, fictional sports game before,
Tell me more.
I was pretty my favorite game of this year was Rocket League, which is, if you don't know, a game about, it's basically soccer, but instead of players, you drive around in cars and you do flips and shit with a rocket-powered car to try and kick a ball into a goal. Pretty simple premise, and there's nothing really like it, which is why I guess it's one of my favorites of this year. Nothing really that you can compare it to. And yeah, just the craziness of it, of having a sports game be one of my favorites in 2015 is pretty cool.
What does set it apart from other? I don't want to say it's a couch game because it is online, but at its core, it's kind of like a couch game in the sense that it's more about like you're kicking everyone's ass. Everything's like short rounds and get the thing done. And what sets it apart from other games that are in that kind of wheelhouse right now?
Like local or like couch co-op games. It has a strange. It's the way it's created. Like I feel like it's made for, or it's suitable for competitive play, where they have a very strict set of rules and they have different maps, but they're always the same layout where it's they don't change anything. They don't have like moving platforms or different terrain types. It's always the same exact thing. Much like real sports, like soccer, you won't have like
One field.
Yeah, it's just one field and it's like a standard field. Same thing with football. Like so, it follows those tropes of like that let it become like a very good competitive game. But there's the way the direction they're going with it is that it's much more jovial and fun, and they've been doing more patches recently to add mutators and things to it, so that it's more of like a party game-ish thing where it's like it's not all about skill and it's more about just having a good time and seeing exciting things happen where you just see the physics of this ball go around and hit the map and do like crazy goals and stuff.
No, I think I agree with you on two. I actually haven't played this yet at all, and this is kind of like one of the ones. My New Year's resolution partly is to play fucking Rocket League, but it's one of the ones I've watched the most on Twitch because it's an easy one to watch because it's a sports game. Right. But at the same time, like I think you're right. Like it's an easy one to kind of get into and kind of play with, but it very much becomes a skill game too because I've seen people that are really good at that game, and when people are really good at Rocket League, it's kind of creepy. Even more fun to watch
and fun
but and creepy, but at the same time you don't necessarily have to be to kind of get it and pick it up either. You know what I mean? It's just like soccer. You can just kind of kick a ball around and put it in a net once in a while. You know what I mean? It's pretty awesome. And I think for the guys that made it, like I think they debuted it as a free download on PlayStation, and then they did a PC release concurrently or shortly thereafter. And it ended up becoming kind of like, kind of one of the surprise hits of the year, I think. I mean, it kind of blew everybody out of the water, which was kind of cool. So I'm with you, Bernard. I enjoy your nomination for. He approves of your choice. Yes,
as if that makes a fucking difference.
It doesn't, but
And it was really good to see that. The developer Sanix actually made a pretty good profit from Rocket League because even though it was really successful. Like the major popularity boost it got was from like it being free on PlayStation for a bit.
For that month, for almost the whole month,
Mm-hmm. But apparently they did pretty well from it either way. So
I think I saw a press release recently where it was saying I think they broke $50 million revenue, which was pretty awesome, pretty great. So pretty good. All right, Mr. Morris.
Hello.
Hi.
What do you got for us, buddy?
Tell me about your favorite game in 2015.
So my favorite game was, what was it, Bloodboner or Bloodborne? One of those two, something like that.
It's the same game, but tell me about the one you had more fun playing.
Oh man, I don't know. Jeez. So Bloodborne was good. It was all my favorite things. It was Dark Souls, and it was bloody, and it was dark, and it was definitely From Software kind of at their peak. I think Bloodborne was Miyazaki coming back to work on something, right? He was not on Dark Souls 2, and definitely showed that he had his touch on it. I don't know, man. If you haven't played it, just go play it. I don't want to spoil that shit for you.
Did you get the DLC? Did you play Old Hunters yet?
I just got Old Hunters, but I haven't played it yet.
Okay.
Well, why? In this genre of games, I call this
the Souls genre?
definitely call this a fail game for sure.
Oh, okay. A fail game.
So compared to other fail games, wait, why do you like fail games at all? For that matter.
So the combat's really tight in it. Like they did a good job moving away from the turtle through the whole game with your shield up to like be more aggressive in combat, engage groups of enemies. It's definitely like keeps you on the edge of your seat. You have those butthole clenching moments where you're not sure whether you're gonna die like in the next 2 seconds or like take down a whole horde of enemies in the same amount of time, which is definitely fun because as you get better at the game kind of rewards you for making the right choices and for learning how to play. Like so you get a little bit more ballsy. So thanks for editing the. You get a little bit more ballsy, a la the Bloodboner title, and I'll just leave it at that.
Wait, did you beat it with a Guitar Hero guitar yet?
No.
Not interested.
So on a personal note, this was actually kind of my vote for game of the my favorite game of the year as well, because I had struggled with getting into the Soul series, and this was kind of like the most accessible one. having Miyazaki come back, obviously a huge plus. I think it was one of the best looking games that I'd seen in a long time. I think that like whoever art directed that needs an Oscar, whatever the Oscar version of an award for that is necessary. It looks just fantastic. And I agree with you. The combat is tight as hell. Like, and they got out of the turtle mode, and they reward you for actually kind of being more aggressive and getting into the damage. Like you can actually get life back for kind of like, instead of like shrinking away, it rewards you. And I think that was kind of a unique and just a well implemented design choice. You know what I mean? For sure. So, all right, nicely done, Christopher.
Thank you,
Mr. Arroyo.
Yeah.
Your favorite game of 2015?
Well, I liked a lot of games, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to pick a favorite, but
it is.
It's nice to choose one that I think, at least for me, my barometer was something I think everybody should play if they haven't. So I had to go there for this one, and for me, that I landed on Until Dawn.
Nice.
By far, I think one of I would say the pinnacle of storytelling in the games medium. That in terms of everything I've ever come across that attempts to focus solely on telling a story, I think that they nailed it like to the nth degree, to the point where we have had Until Dawn parties. Not only have we played through it once with 3 of us, but then we played through it again with 5 or 6 of us, all over like Halloween break. So 2 whole playthroughs with full rooms full of people watching this game go down, because it's just as entertaining to watch it as it is to play it. That's proof that it's a good storytelling game, and they just every single aspect of it, I think they did perfectly for what they were trying to achieve. As a game, it depends on what you're trying to do. Like if you're a hardcore gamer and you're trying to focus on skill, this isn't the game for you at all. But in terms of trying to tell a story in an interactive sense, where in a horror genre, you can be incredibly tense and nervous because you're worried about what the main character is. But then this one, they put you in that seat, and it feels very different because you're even more terrified. Some examples are like we had Nathan Hitchcock, who's been on the show quite a few times as well. Whenever he had the controller, he left it into a sweaty mess. Like it was he was so absolutely terrified at every decision. Even we've even figured out, after playing the game a couple times, where the areas are where it might not make a difference at all what choices you make. But the fact that you're given a choice, really, the illusion of choice, they really did a good job with that. It makes you think that everything you do is going to fuck you over later. So, and
you never, but the point is, when you're playing it, you don't know how much it's fucking you.
That's what real life
you're
is
like, am I
like,
getting
and that's
fucked
what
really hard or
Yeah.
just kind of hard
Yeah,
right
exactly.
now? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I just started playing it yesterday. I found this was one on my list of like stuff I needed to try and get my hands on before having a.
You needed to get your hands on it.
Yeah, I needed to get my hands on it, and I needed to,
How else is he gonna get fucked
I needed
by
to get fucked really hard or not so hard. I don't know, but
It's just funny because Bernard edited the title in the show notes, so like everything you're saying now is like comedic gold.
I think
we don't see any of that on our end because we have a prompt.
It's already preloaded, so sorry, buddy. But I'll look at it after, though. I promise. But what I liked about what I'm liking about Until Dawn so much is that it pushes back against the whole like Mass Effect Paragon thing. Like you can't just play it the way you think you should, or like you can't be just a nice, quiet, bad guy. Like it's gonna push back against you a little bit, and kind of change it up.
Well, I mean, okay, to your point,
Yeah.
like a good example that explains that is the simple questions like, do I look at the cell phone that's ringing in this guy's backpack?
Right.
Or not? What does that have to do with the story? Nothing, but it has everything to do with how the outcome changes.
Yeah.
And so it's not really about making the right or wrong decisions. It's about playing it the way you would, but not knowing that little things that you did change the entire story. That is why I love it more than games like that do it like Mass Effect, where it's really obvious which choice is going to determine how things go,
how your Paragon meter changes. No, I totally, and that's what I like about it, because it's very much an interactive movie. I feel like they took the Telltale Games model and basically built like a feature length movie around it, not just like a short. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So, and no,
This was the one that I was actually gonna pick if you went with Bloodborne, because Until Dawn was like fantastic. I was so hooked on it that it was like a 2-night like binge session, like all the way through the game, and it's the perfect game to like have someone on the couch with you too. It's like definitely nice if like one person wants to enjoy like the experience, but they're kind of too nervous to actually play the game. Like you still can both like sit there and enjoy it, and it's funny to see how the other person reacts to your choices as well.
Yeah, definitely.
No, 100%. Melissa was getting a little kick out of it at the beginning. I think she got a little tired of the whole teenage rom-com thing, like horror movie thing.
It's tough because it got better and better. And
I know
better
it will,
in
and
terms of the characters.
That's from what hearing you guys talk about it, and now I'm only just starting to play it. Like I'm trying to keep her.
You'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right. So my turn.
Yeah.
Shit. All right. So I told you guys I think Bloodborne was probably my take for my favorite game of the year, and I am enjoying Until Dawn a lot. And Rocket League is something I'm definitely looking forward to playing the shit out of in the future here. But I think if I had to pick out of the rest of the major releases for the year, I think I'm going to go with Metal Gear Solid 5. And for 2 words alone, first, and then obviously there's a bevy of other reasons, but emergent gameplay I think is the best thing I can see. This game is so well made and designed so well. However you feel about the Metal Gear series, it doesn't matter. I think what matters is if you can literally like find a video or an audio cassette tape that plays a fart noise, and then you hide in an outhouse and then play that fart noise while you're hiding in it.
Spoilers.
And then, the enemies walk by, they just assume that somebody's having like a bad day.
Taking a dump.
Yeah, exactly. Or you can use the box and like slide down ramps inside your FOB. Like they clearly had a lot of different things in mind, and I'm not saying they actually like designed to that, but they prepared for a bunch of like unforeseen eventualities in such a like unique way and efficient way that it created such lovingly like handcrafted amazingness that I don't know. It ran really well. I and obviously like everybody is very aware if they listen to this show or read games journalism at all about the whole nightmare between Konami and Kojima and everything else. Like the fact that game, like whether it was overpriced and they spent too much money or not, the fact that we got it at all and that Kojima was under the gun the whole time to get it done, and then it finally released to the way it did and how successful it was. I don't know, as a father, like I'm not going to get a chance to play a whole lot of open world games anymore. Like I tried to do Witcher, couldn't finish it. I got pretty far, but even like Dragon Age Inquisition, like I didn't get very far in that, and even Fallout 4, like I just traded it in yesterday because I was like, I'm not going to play fucking this game. You know what I mean? Like I tried, but Metal Gear Solid was the one that I sank my teeth into the most, and I don't know. I was glad to have it. It was a nice return to the series and a hell of a note for Kojima to go like leave Konami on. So that's definitely my favorite.
Can you really record a fart and then play it in the outhouse?
You find a tape that is like a guy shitting.
So someone else went through the hassle of recording themselves shitting.
And so you find it as part of like one of your like the many cassette tapes that you can find in the game. But if you play that in your thing while you're hiding in an outhouse while that enemy's walking by, they won't bother you because they're just going to assume it's another soldier.
That's kind of meta because if you think about it, some guy did the Foley, right? He recorded maybe himself or somebody else shitting. And then in the game, some character recorded himself shitting so that you could find that tape so that you could
I'm pretty sure that Kojima just took a mic and held it to himself over the process of his whole battle with Konami.
Oh yeah, if you
Konami
look at Konami. If you look at the credits,
Konami.
If you look at the
Konami,
credits, it says shits by Hideo Kojima.
Yeah,
it's in the intro if you're just paying attention.
Well, it says it after every mission.
Yeah,
before every mission.
Fart sounds.
Right, fart sounds by Hideo Kojima, designed and directed, produced,
to be a fly on the wall in the meeting where they were
special thanks Chipotle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Does anybody have any round the horn honorable mentions? We don't need a reason, but was there?
Yeah, I have a couple, but go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
I think the one thing I didn't play this year that I wanted to, other than Rocket League, was Mario Maker, and I guarantee you that I won't spend a whole lot of time with it. But I definitely saw how much people enjoyed it, and I saw how much like that and Splatoon were kind of a big push post Iwata for Nintendo, and
okay.
That's stuff I'd like to get to at some point.
What about you guys? Do you have any honorable mentions?
Cities Skylines and Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Cool. Bernard?
Mine would be Witcher 3.
Nice. That's it?
Do we have to give reasons?
No, that's fine. No, that's good.
No, I was just curious.
What about you?
I didn't have any prepared. I just
No?
No, actually, Undertale would be mine. I've only played about an hour of it so far, but we stopped because Nick, who's not in this episode, even though he's a core panelist, he went out of town on us, and we've been scheduling some time to get friends over to play it together, so we can read the parts of the characters and stuff, and
make it a whole experience. Yeah.
So okay. I've got far enough in to understand like the incredible appeal of the game, and
so you guys play video games like it's an interactive dance theater or something.
That's pretty much how Undertale, our house works now.
Until dawn.
If it's like a Twitchy game, it just doesn't get played because people can't, we can't enjoy it in a room full of people anymore.
Right. No, very good.
And also Gang Beasts.
I think that's got to be like that's the last shout out, because I think that's like the thing we played before each episode for like a good 6 months out of this year.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you take a minute to describe the appeal of Undertale, because it's just totally lost on me.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, have you played it?
Yeah, I've played it for like an hour, and then I guess I gave up.
Well, then if you've played it and I've played it and I see the appeal and you don't, then I just disagree.
Like, maybe
right?
it's something I'm missing because I haven't played enough. So I'm just.
I just think it's one of those games that's it's pretty meta. So I think it's for people who like shows like Community.
Okay.
That's kind of the vibe I get from it. And that
if Dan Harmon made
a video game that was like an 8-bit game or something, it would be that. It's incredibly charming, but at the same time, it's totally self-aware, and I like that because every time it pulls me out, it brings me in. I don't know how to make sense of that, but that's how I feel about it.
Okay. I haven't played it either, but it's like the hype around it obviously can't be ignored. We talked about it a bunch on the show.
Yeah, we have, yeah.
And I don't know. That again, another one. That, Rocket League, and Mario Maker are on my list to play. So we'll move on. So yeah, there you go. Anybody that was curious what we thought are, our favorite games, not necessarily the best, but our favorites for the year. I'm sure they fall in line with a lot of other venues, but I don't know.
And sorry, not to pander to guests or anything,
no,
but Fingered was a hell of a lot of fun for.
If you haven't played
the
it,
three of us.
If you have $2 to spare, go get Fingered.
Definitely best $2 game I've ever played.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch you should get out there too, because like the guests that we've had, Dad Beat Dads, Nova 111, Grav, all that stuff. Like honestly, like go ahead. Like we don't bring those guys on for nothing. Like they're gracious enough to do this show, and pug sniffing butts, like sniffing pugs,
butt sniffing
pug sniffing butt,
pug sniffing butts.
Butt sniffing pugs is all that stuff. If you get a chance to see him or whatever, I got check that stuff out too, you guys. I mean, it's all worth it. Like we give those recommendations just as freely as we would to all these major releases as well. You
can't really make butt sniffing pugs like your favorite game when you can only play it like once ever because there's
only one controller and it only comes around during conferences. But yeah, if you get your chance.
But there are things we should talk about for sure, because they were fun. But it's not like anyone else can go grab it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But there you go. Anyone was curious about what we thought was the highlights of 2015 from the gaming arena? That's exactly where we ended up. So, all right, major topic number 2. Let's talk about Christmas Day, you guys, and why none of us and none of you should have been playing games. You should have been spending it with family, first of all. you selfish bastards. But Valve had a DDoS attack apparently on Christmas Day, and users on Valve were taking note that they could access other users' accounts. They could see details like the last 4 digits of a credit card number and previous purchase dockets. It wasn't necessarily across the board, but if you happen to log in on a certain time during Christmas Day, and there were 34,000 of you that did so, and I'm sorry that your families aren't entertaining enough to keep you there, but maybe you had a good reason to get the fuck away from that shit too. So,
isn't that a normal thing though? In my house growing up, Christmas was like,
if you got video games,
you got a video game,
you
and
then start playing that shit.
You played it
to a certain extent. I think that's correct.
All right,
but like, who unwraps a present that's a Steam game?
A lot of people.
You mean like a Steam gift card?
Yeah.
But
parents don't know what to get kids, but they know he uses this thing called Steam, so get him a gift card for it.
Maybe. I haven't gotten that far along in my parenthood yet.
You will.
All right. Valve went into its usual quiet mode in that it wasn't totally silent, but they took to Reddit to say that they were working on it, but obviously there was a bunch of problems. Like there was a certain amount of exposure, there was a certain amount of worry to be had by the user if you were one on Christmas Day. They took to Reddit to say that they were working on it, And then later that day, they gave a statement to GameSpot saying that the breach lasted less than an hour, and then it had been fixed, providing no known problems to date. It's worth noting that if you do not use Steam at all during that holiday, you should be fine, as no one would have access to your info. You had to be able to like log in and be an active player to have yourself exposed in this way, based on the way that their system was set up. So I have questions for you guys regarding this. Were any of you playing games on Christmas Day?
Not me.
I mean, I logged into Steam to buy games for people and to receive gifts, but I didn't run into any problems. So
Okay.
I don't really care if someone accessed the last 4 digits of my debit card anyway.
Okay.
Well, well, first of all, Bernard, did you play on Christmas Day?
I did the same thing as Chris, just buying stuff. So
I don't even think you had to be playing, right? It was just if you
Just
logged
logged
in.
If you logged in, yeah. It's all about being logged in.
It was not that there were only 35,000 people logged in. I think it was just 35,000 of the people logged in were affected.
Correct.
Right,
I mean, I'm
right.
sure there were hundreds of thousands of people logged in, but,
Yeah.
Well, okay, but to be clear,
Sure.
people were saying that when they logged in, they were logging in and seeing the information of another individual. Didn't that make, like, even though you can see the last 4 of their card and no more, you could still use that other person's account, right? Like make purchases.
I don't
No,
think you
that's
could
not
actually
correct.
use it. You could see their information.
Okay,
Like,
that's
on
all it
Facebook.
was?
Like, it's not like
Yeah.
It was like some amount of completely read-only information.
How the hell does that even happen?
Yeah, exactly.
It was a caching error.
Exactly.
Because they were like trying to protect themselves from the DDoS attack.
Oh, so they were like holding some information.
Well, so data was getting cached so that it
Right.
could be passed on to people without, I would assume, needing like a active connection.
Right, they were
between
getting the
server and
old
user.
information.
and it was just bad
Right.
cache data.
Okay, so the idea was to give them old information so that they didn't have none while it was in DDoS, and then, but what was happening was that old information was the information of another individual by
right.
mistake.
Exactly.
Got it. Well, that's not that bad.
Yes, I agree. I think one of the larger things that came out of this, though, is that this was very indicative. I mean, I'm sure there were, like, EA went down over Christmas as well. Like, but nobody's talking about Origin. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. People were talking about Valve as the leader, as a PC like gaming outpost for buying and talking about and using games. One of the big problems that a lot of, like, even just journalistic venues had was like the lack of transparency, where a few days went by without Valve making a statement. Even if they were like, oh, we're working on it, and like, here's what happened on Christmas. Like, they didn't come out for a couple days to actually say the cause of it, like what repercussions were and how they were dealing with it. You know what I mean?
I think that was it. The main issue was their general lack of communication, which is pretty standard for
this is very much a Valve normalcy at this point. You know what I mean?
Always be transparent. Yeah.
No, like the fact that they're not.
But they're not.
Yeah, the fact that, like, we'll let you know when we have it figured out and we can give you all the information. Not like
they finally responded to it today on
Correct.
Steam at like 11 this morning, and so it had taken a few days for anyone to know what the fuck was going on. So the speculation was running rampant, which was not doing them any favors in the meantime.
say what you want about the PC Master Race. They can be a bit hot-headed, you know what I mean, when it comes to
I'm torn by this.
demanding information.
Well, this is the problem with any kind of monopoly, and in this scenario, I'm suffice to say there are other services, but I would like to think that in terms of a monopoly over the PC market, it's definitely Valve. There's no doubt about that to me. I don't think they have enough competition to even to
that
say
pie graph is dominated.
Sorry, but it is a monopoly in my book. And under those circumstances, you have to be incredibly political about those kind of things. You can't. Everything you say affects your company, and if they had anybody come out and immediately have something to say right when it happened about it and get it wrong, I think that could hurt them more than having all the information at their disposal to tell everybody what happened after the fact. Although, I totally understand where you guys are coming from. Like, it'd be super weird to see some like random German guy's information in your account. Because that's what everybody was saying, was they were getting like people from overseas from here and vice versa.
Right.
It wasn't, and it was just really odd and off-putting, and nobody knew what was going on. And it makes you think, what's my information? Where's my information going? Who's seeing mine if I'm seeing this guy's, and so on and so forth. So maybe it would have been nice for them to tell people about that, or to even shut the service down
Right.
when it was happening.
Right.
Why wouldn't you shut it down
Well, they did shut it down when it happened.
right away?
Well, they didn't catch it right away, but they shut it down.
It was like within
caught.
an hour. Within an hour, I
Yeah.
think.
Well, that's good timing. So if they shut it down, then why is the speculation a big deal? Like, people know that they took action. So what's the problem?
It's because people were affected by it, and
they want to know what the repercussions might be
instantaneously, and people want to know what was accessed and what the repercussions are. And so Valve said basically some pages included billing address, last 4 digits of their Steam Guard phone number, their purchase history, last 2 digits of their credit card number, and or their email address, but didn't provide enough data to allow logging in or completing as a transaction as another user. However, like knowing somebody's billing address or last 4 or whatever, other various data could, ostensibly allow somebody to access accounts on any other websites where they could scam the customer service agents. So it is like a legitimate concern, I suppose.
Concern, yes, but if that was their communication, then what was the issue?
The problem was that the communication didn't happen until today. So nobody...
They were offering updates, but they were like without detail. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we're working on it, or like this. Yes, we're aware of what's happening. Just bear with us. You know what I mean? But until today, like, they didn't identify what the source of the problem was, which was the DDoS attack. The whole thing. And they went on to say that, like, we hire third-party services to help us sort some of this stuff out. And most of the time, like, this stuff happens more often than you think, and you guys never have to worry about it because we're handling it. You know what I mean? But when Steam, access and everything else is becoming during the holidays is 2,000% above what it normally is, because everybody's doing exactly what you and Chris and Bernard were doing, like checking your accounts, like buying gifts, like sending out fucking game keys and shit like that. Like, we're up, they're huge numbers. It's not hard to like jam up their network with a DDoS attack. So it's a vulnerable time for them. You know what I mean? And so until they identified exactly what the problem was, they were reluctant to give any kind of statement.
I think that
speaks
what
to
it
your
is.
point, Joe.
Until
You know what I mean?
knew exactly what the problem was, that like them releasing information prematurely could have exacerbated the problem and
That's
like
where I'm
helped
at.
the attackers,
Right.
Potentially.
So let me ask you this: if they were less of a monopoly, if it was still more of like a knockdown drag out between them and Origin and like Green Man Gaming or GOG or whatever, would it serve them better to be more transparent on the front end in hopes that they were like at least catering to a customer base that wanted that information, or did they play it right by waiting 4 or 5 days? Not necessarily waiting, but like structuring their release of information to the point where they wanted to be sure on all accounts about what they were talking about and how to inform their customer base appropriately, even if that meant waiting 5 days. Did they do it the right way, or does the reputation to Valve take a hit?
I think they're taking advantage of their size when it comes to this, in the fact that they had the ability to just wait and not say anything. I think if it was if they were in a position where they didn't own so much of the PC market, not putting a statement out would seem like negligence. Whereas at their size currently, like, we can't actually do anything. We're still all going to use Steam, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's not like
For now, that's the eventual truth.
right.
For sure.
When you boycott Steam at this point, it's like, okay, so you're not going to play PC games. That's cool.
Right. It's a good thing I downloaded the offline version. Yeah. No, fair enough. I mean, we can move on here shortly, but as much as people were upset, or like I felt like we were getting the deluge of like headlines that were coming like, why isn't Steam saying anything? I'm like, well, they probably have fucking very good reason. A, to protect themselves, to protect their customer base eventually, and then figure out what the problem was in the first place, right? Like, should we, like, 5 days? Is that
No,
much?
5 days is a long time.
It is a long
It's
time.
a long time when your
Okay.
information is out there. You're seeing someone else's information and whatnot.
Okay.
I agree with Bernard in that, because I hadn't logged in and I had seen the information about this, even read some articles before they actually, but then I was on break and was just, doing other shit, so I didn't worry about it. I had no idea it was 5 days. So I agree with Bernard in that they know that they're like, they can wait. Like, when we actually get all the information, which is the right thing to do, send it out. But they probably weren't, worried so much that anybody's going to disappear from the Steam market because there's not a competitor for them to go running to.
At least not one to be worried about as of yet.
So, they figured it out, and kudos to them for that. But, they probably would have done it more hastily if there was a competitor for people to leave
Okay.
and go
No,
to.
fair enough. All right. All right, moving on. In recent news as well, we're going to talk about Project Tango, and this little gem was announced by Google last year, but has finally come to fruition to a certain degree this year, and they're starting to kind of put out small bits and pieces of information about what it's actually capable of and everything else. And I'm not purposely trying to sound vague, but the article that was written about it took its time to kind of present the details and facts about it as well. But what's important to note here is that not only is it going to change, supposedly, or have the potential to supposedly change the face of gaming, but almost everything else we do in our daily life that is technology-based as well, which is becoming more and more just about everything we do, right? So they're opening it up, first of all, to the user and the public to create apps or to suggest apps that might be best, suited for this particular project. And now you're probably asking yourself, what the fuck is it? What the fuck is Project Tango? I could hear
So
Joe.
confused.
Yeah. Project Tango it's a tablet. It's a mobile device. It's a phone. All right. It's something carryable on your person while you're out and about. I mean, it's equipped with an infrared camera, an infrared emitter, and a wide-angle lens, amongst many other kind of advanced features that your mobile device, the one that you have in your pocket right now or in your purse, probably doesn't have. So when you use these in conjunction, what you can do is when this device wakes up, it basically prints and creates a 3D model of the room or building or house that you're in, to not just the dimensions of the room, but the furniture around it, the things that are sitting on the table, everything that happens to be there. It has a certain amount of depth perception involved. It has a certain amount of area learning. So if things get moved around, then it will self-correct, that kind of stuff. This article begins to talk about the implications of a mobile device with this kind of power. I think we see stuff like this kind of like in Mission Impossible movies. You know what I mean? Or the way that in Dark Knight Rises, Lucius Fox's, total distaste for the fact that Batman is using every mobile device in Gotham City to be a kind of like a 3D sonar.
Right.
Google has essentially gone and done it. You know what I mean? And it's not that it's in place now, so there's no reason to panic or anything like that. But what are the wide-ranging uses that it can be used for? So you can jump online and buy furniture and test it out in your living room based on dimensions.
You want to see how it looks? I mean, this reminds me of the movie Clueless, right? Where she's trying out her outfits, and she has this little digital image of her, and she's like picking out which skirt to wear and stuff, and it tells her whether or not it's a match. This is like that, except you could do it with your living room furniture.
Yes. Amongst other things, yeah.
Or you could turn your room into a virtual amusement park. What the fuck does that mean?
I don't know, but you depending on the developer, you could build up something that could happen within a certain amount of, I'm sure there'd be a range of space, like a 12 by 12 or an 8 by 10 or whatever it is. But you can bring up a shooting gallery or a ring toss or a roller coaster ride that takes place literally, you don't move anywhere, but it will take you around based on the dimensions of your room. You know what I mean?
This is kind of like, I don't know if you guys remember when we were in school, they had us pitch some ideas, like maybe after the first or second semester. And I was saying that something that would be cool to do with technology like this would be like interactive learning for children. So you're watching like Blue's Clues or whatever, and they're like, hey, where's the thing? Right? And you just have some kids screaming at the TV, and then eventually they're like, oh yeah, here's the thing over here. It'd be cool if it was actually like fully interactive, and it was leveraging like your room in order to learn the space and to like project stuff in the space in 3D. Well, wasn't that something that like Microsoft was working on?
Yeah, well, I think HoloLens has
3D things like AR stuff into your room.
Oh, the Illuma room, I think was what it was called, or something. It's something very similar. Exactly. But the way this is working, I think, is going to be in conjunction with like Google Glass or whatever. They call it "quote unquote" mixed reality. So it's kind of like
Glass even a thing still?
Yeah, there's version 2.0. I think there were some blueprints and stuff leaked or were popping up this week. But regardless, I think what's cool about this is that it can do exactly what you're saying, but it actually plays to the contents of your environment in the sense that. Like if Blue's Clues tells you to go find a toy, and if you pick up a pillow, and you're wearing the right headset, or you have the right projector, when you pick up that headset, that image or something will actually be there, or pick up that pillow rather, that thing will actually be there. You know what I mean? This, like, they're talking about using this in a way like with sonar for people that are visually impaired. Like if you equip somebody with whatever Project Tango device that happens to be blind or just have impaired vision, then this could actually be a way for them to be able to like feel out a room or see, or like just have an idea of what a real room feels and looks like. You know what I mean? Which is pretty amazing. So, I mean, the implications to that in the gaming space are insane. Like, think about the coolest horror house you can think of, and if somebody like went balls out on this kind of thing, like how much better that would be. Or again, like an amusement park or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like the more this grows and the more it develops, sky's the limit here, fellas. Maybe I'm being naive, but I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say.
Well, I mean, it sounds kind of like the problems that they've been trying to solve with VR stuff and having physical objects in the space interfering with the IR cameras. So I wonder if this is going to help to solve some of those issues, so that you can have these like virtual amusement parks with stuff projected onto blank walls, and someone can still navigate the space that's like physically accurate, but like looks totally nothing like a room full of blank walls.
No, fair enough. And I think they mentioned that like rendering over like brightly lit windows and stuff like that was a problem in the article itself. But it's not foolproof yet. But I think the implications are still there for sure. Bernard, any thoughts?
It'll be interesting to see how much this changes, like, just our basic standard of living. Like, because like if we look back, I don't know, like 10 or so years, like, when we didn't all own smartphones, we like all those separate things that our smartphone does right now, like they had to be in a physical space, they had to be things that we owned. But so if we, try to abstract that idea for like this AR VR thing, maybe like in the future we won't have, televisions or like paintings on walls or any sort of like actual decoration that's physical, and maybe we'll just all be digital, and there'll be a marketplace for like digital furniture and things like that. It's an interesting concept, and it's I'm sure we'll only see its results like at least a decade down the line.
Yeah, I think it's
definitely cool to see.
It's like the VR thing.
No, I agree. Like it's one of those. It's one of those articles I read when I'm thinking about shit for this show, and I get super excited about, because I'm like, oh my god, can you imagine all the cool shit that we can do, like between advertising and not that advertising is all that cool, but just like like you think about that, right? Like that scene in Minority Report where he's walking by and like the ad reads his retinal signature, and it's like, oh, like, hey, your name, like wouldn't you look great in this Lexus or something? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but then I think Demolition Man, and I think when they take sex and they remove it from the physical thing,
the whole three seashell problem. Yeah,
that too. Yeah.
No, like, for sure. But like the whole idea of like like being a semi virtual solution for people that are visually impaired, or the way that we can turn our basic bedrooms not into just a TV screen and a keyboard or a controller, like the fact that we can sit there with like motion controls and our haptic controls or whatever, and just run around and have fun, like without even having to go outside, you guys, because fuck outside.
Who needs outside?
Who needs outside? But I don't know, it's just, the implications here are pretty incredible. So I mean, you talk about everything that Google's doing with Kurzweil or the AI stuff, could be crazy, but I don't know, could be fucking cool too.
We'll see what happens.
So, yeah. All right, panel. Time for the last lightning round of the year. Some of you may know how this works, others may not. We do this every week, but we'll roll through it one more time. We're going to take a few quick topics, give people a minute to chime in, uninterrupted for the most part, and we will award points based on nothing in particular. First topic. CBS and Paramount have decided that a $1 million fan movie is a rampant breach of copyright, and it's decided to sue the production company and the director. The director took to Facebook to reply by essentially welcoming the David versus Goliath situation. CBS is lawfully correct, but when you have that much of a fan base, do you want to alienate them? Do we have a cult following, or let crowdfunding become stronger than the law? When you talk about franchises, I mean, all the words have been talking about Star Wars lately. When you talk about Star Trek, and obviously they have a new trailer for their new movie, because anybody who sat through the 80 minutes of trailers prior to Star Wars knows that a new one's coming, and there's a rabid fan base around it. So is CBS just being an asshole? Should they just let it happen, or what? Bernard,
So
you're gonna go first again.
You get the first
Alright.
minute.
You're gonna go last on the next one. I promise. Okay.
all right,
All right.
I promise. All right. So I feel like this is an instance where like the creators were sort of playing with fire. I mean, they probably knew in the back of their minds that this was always a possibility, that when using an established IP that they don't own, that the actual owner of the IP has the full right to shut down whatever production you're doing. So they took the risks, and they got, I guess they got targeted. I'm not sure exactly why CBS decided to target them in particular, if there was some other reason, but it has to do with the new Star Trek coming out eventually, like sometime in 2016. So they wanted to make sure that there weren't any sort of factors that could have involved or damaged their marketing or whatever, since that's like a multi-million-dollar thing.
It was good in 3 seconds left.
I think you covered that appropriately. I will award you 6 bottles of champagne for your
Sweet.
New Year's Eve.
Not good bottles,
Celebration.
apparently, if it's what we've just been drinking.
No, because it doesn't matter. Then I will, like Veuve Coco or
give him some Veuve. 6 bottles of
Yeah, 6 bottles of Veuve.
Fuck. Hot damn.
Congratulations, you're a rap video. Mr. Morris,
All right.
give me your 1 minute take.
I mean, I guess I really don't give a fuck, to be honest. It's like they should have known better. It's Star Trek. It's a huge franchise. The rights holders want to protect their canon, and so it's totally within their rights to be like, nah, sorry, not going to let you do it. Because even if they say, hey, we're not going to make any profit off of it, realistically they will, and they'll sell merchandise and stuff. And unless they're going to really meticulously keep their books kept, they're just going to land themselves in a bad situation.
Oh, does it really stop?
Okay. For echoing Bernard's sentiments, but eloquently stating them in a reasonable way, I will award you 5 bottles of Veuve.
Thank you.
And 1 bottle of Cristal. Okay, just to.
Oh shit!
What's up?
I like it.
It's New Year's Eve, guys.
Yeah.
It's champers for everybody. Mr. Arroyo,
Oh, okay.
give me a minute.
I like the no publicity is bad publicity unless you're served with papers, which they are, so that kind of sucks. But what are they worried about, that people aren't going to go watch the next Star Trek movie because this fan flick exists? I mean, Star Trek movies it's not like they're coming out every fucking week. People can watch another thing for an hour of their lives. I agree that you shouldn't be fucking around with people's IPs. So I'm kind of torn in this whole thing, but it only serves to help both parties in the sense that there's somebody passionate enough to do it. There are people passionate enough to get on board. There are people passionate enough to watch it. And thus people are just excited about Star Trek again. And thus when the film comes out, they're going to go watch the next film, even if J.J. Abrams makes it, which, we all know that. I know in this case it's not, but I'm just saying, that would suck because we've had enough lens flare in our lives. And there's the other part of me that just kind of doesn't give a shit, just like Chris on this one, because it's going to get worked out however it's going to get worked out. And who did it really hurt other than the fact that we're talking about it?
I feel like Nick should have been here to weigh in on this, 'cause
I
it would've been
agree.
great.
I agree. I kind of wish Nick was here too. In that regard, I'll chime in here if you might. Oh well, Mr. Arroyo, I think you brought up some fresh points to your predecessors,
Just
and
give me
therefore I will give you
1 bottle.
3 bottles of Cristal and 4 bottles of Veuve. 4 bottles of Veuve.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't care.
I know.
Okay, go, Joe Erskine.
So here's the thing. I think we're seeing, especially in light of the whole Star Wars movement, we're all again realizing that there are certain IPs and franchises that have a very large cultural movement behind them. That there is a fan base that deserves to be heard to a certain degree. I'm not saying that it supersedes the law, but when you talk about Star Wars, and when you talk about Star Trek, or you even talk about stuff like Game of Thrones even, which is probably the closest thing to the next one, and say what you want about the Marvel Universe or the DC Universe, like, I'm not sure they're quite there yet, but they're getting there. But what we're seeing here is that, like, there's a certain appropriation by the public to feel ownership over what's happening. So when you see a guy like manage to crowdfund $1 million video about something he's very passionate about, and it happens to be Star Trek, should he be at fault for that? Based on the law, yeah, I guess. But you can't argue with a million screaming fans that want to see that video too. So I don't know.
It sounds like you're just as torn.
I am. I'm very torn. I'm very torn about the whole thing. So he had to know what he was getting himself into, and that's where I agree with all three of you. But
right.
At the same time, there is kind of like that the masses that seem to be kind of behind this kind of thing lately, and it speaks maybe not necessarily as loudly, but it's picking up volume. You know what I mean? So
all right, since we don't know who would give out points to you in a situation where the
on a core panel, yeah,
I will go ahead and award you
sure.
1 bottle of Vouv,
okay.
but being poured through the air in an arc that lands on Kim Kardashian's ass.
You just broke the internet, dude.
I will second that with the glass of milk doing the same thing.
I don't want to mix dairy with my alcohol. That's gross.
Separate cup.
Thank you, gentlemen. Secondary. So no topic, no article for this last one. Just we're gonna bookend it appropriately, just with the way we started the show. We spent a lot of time talking about a lot of news and a lot of items and a lot of video game and tech and pop culture related shit. Not to sound like the masthead here, but that's what we do on the show. So we're gonna take turns, 1 minute apiece, talking about all the stuff that from the past year that we found the most interesting, funny, sad, or meaningful. We talked about a ton. Like I said, there isn't much here that's off limits, but if you can pick one thing that sums up the year for you personally, I want you to share it with us. So, Bernard, I promise you that you could go last. I guess this means that I'm going to go first. We'll go reverse order. Yeah. All right.
Go.
I think for me this year, probably the most tragic, important, interesting thing that happened was the passing of Satoru Iwata. I think it obviously, kind of closed the book on a certain era of Nintendo's life and the way that Nintendo reacted to its fan base and how Nintendo Directs worked and everything else. Some of the games that came out of there. I mean, the guy's legacy it's not going anywhere, but it's obviously tragic to lose such a powerful force in the gaming industry and from a design aspect, from a programming aspect, from any of that stuff, and especially now when Nintendo is transitioning away from Wii U and kind of recognizing, quote unquote failure that it was compared to the original Wii, and as they move on to the NX and the mobile space and everything else, I think it's a really interesting time to not have him around. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen. That was one of my, I don't know, that was the one that weighed on me the most, I think, this year. So
cool. I think this is going to be a lightning round where we do not award points.
Yeah, I think there's no points necessary on this one. Yeah,
we get all the points for all the answers.
Yeah, we've talked about it already. We've awarded points for these topics, so to speak.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean?
All right,
Mr. Arroyo.
You went sentimental. I'm going to go train wreck. I'm going to go with a topic that could have been really beneficial to the gaming community and ended up being one of those things where every time he did more about it, it dug a deeper and deeper hole. So I'm going to go with Kimmel. And when Jimmy Kimmel did his thing on gamers and Twitch streaming and couldn't understand it, and it blew up YouTube and the internet, and it was terrible. And then he made a horrible attempt at coming to terms with it by meeting up with other streamers and trying to expose himself to it, which he played Rocket League, by the way, horribly.
He did.
And in that, he somehow made it worse. He somehow made it way fucking worse. And it was one of those things where each time we just thought, every week, we were like, are we going to talk about him every week for the next month? Because he's always going to do something dumber than the last thing. While he was trying to secretly make amends, he just made it worse and worse and worse. So train wreck of the year goes to Jimmy Kimmel and his horrible attempt at coming to terms with the gaming community.
Well played. Well played. Mr. Morris,
Hello.
give me your 2015 in a minute.
All right. So for me, I think that AI was kind of the biggest stuff that we talked about, and that it's going to play a big role in 2016. I think we'll probably see a lot more news come out about stuff that Google, Tesla, Facebook, etc., are working on. And one of the articles that I just read recently was like that hacker that got iOS and PS3 hacked is doing a self-driving car he's trying to beat out Tesla with it. So I think it's a good time to be both excited and scared for what 2016 has in store for that stuff.
Cool.
Short and sweet. Once again, Mr. Morris with the succinctness. Mr. B-Bomb.
Mr. B-Bomb.
He chuckled again. I'll get him to laugh before the end of the year, I promise.
No, you won't.
Yeah, I know. Give me the last lightning round minute of the year, man. Let's hear it.
Hey, man. So with 2015, it was a big year for like remasters in terms of games. So I think a fitting highlights for this yearly roundup is the announcement of sequels that we never thought would ever happen, and remasters that we never thought would ever happen. So the Final Fantasy VII remake, the Shenmue sequel, and the Psychonauts sequel. I think those things kind of highlight things that we never thought we'd ever hear, and they just happen to happen this year.
Again, very succinct. Damn, dude, you just took all the hype and crammed it into like 30 seconds. That was pretty good. I love doing the show with you guys. I got to tell you, I loved doing it in 2015, and I have a very distinct feeling I'm going to love it doing even more doing it in 2016. I think we've done it here, episode 78, all over, and that pretty much closes it out for the year for us. You've got our favorite games. You got our favorite stories. Hello, Shampanya.
Wait, no, I gotta pour some.
You're
Shitty ass champagne.
This is some pretty shitty champagne.
I mean, thank you, Joe.
And I know that it's late over by you, Chris and Bernard. But thank you for staying up late with us. Hopefully you get to do it tomorrow night as well for New Year's Eve. But thank you for being here, dear listener. Thank you. Know that we're always curious to hear what you think, so please chime in anytime you feel like it. Any kind of comment thread or social media, find it. We're on it. Get it there. Facebook, Twitter. Get in on the conversation.
Please come talk to us. We're lonely.
Even though our favorite Twitter comment about New Year's resolutions was never read the comment
Never
threads.
read the comment section.
But we will. We'll read it for you, listener. We hope everyone had a great year, man. We did, and we hope yours was just as good. It was great one for us. And here's a hearty cheers to you and yours. A happy and healthy 2016 coming up. Stay tuned for a new episode coming next week. We're taking no breaks. We're coming right back at you. We'll be there for you. So stick around for us. We'll be hitting the ground running in 2016. We've got a bunch of great stuff planned. Mr. Morris, I'm looking at you. Don't give anything away, but
so much pressure.
So much pressure. And and like I said before, briefly, Bernard's been working hard to
help us out with the
secret stuff. So much secret stuff and awesome stuff's coming. It's coming your way, listener, and ours for that matter. But got a bunch of great stuff planned. So stay with us coming weeks and months. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Great
Happy New Year.
2015. Thanks for sticking with us, man. We'll see you guys next time. All right.